The silence of space surrounded Captain Lee Sun-ho as he guided his patrol vessel along the outer edges of Jupiter's orbit. Earth Space Force had increased patrols after unusual energy signatures were detected in the sector. Most pilots complained about these extended missions, but Sun-ho found peace in the vastness of space. His scanner beeped suddenly, pulling him from his thoughts. An unidentified object drifted ahead, moving erratically. "Command, this is Captain Lee. I've located an unknown craft at coordinates 47 to 9231, requesting permission to investigate." "Permission granted, Captain. Proceed with caution." Sun-ho maneuvered closer. The vessel was unlike anything in Earth's database, sleek and silver with peculiar organic curves that reminded him of flowing water frozen in time. Damage marked its hull, with sections blackened and torn. It was clearly disabled and drifting. "Unknown vessel, this is Earth Space Force Captain Lee Sun-ho. Do you require assistance?" Only static answered him. He repeated the message on different frequencies, with the same result. Sun-ho checked his sensors again. The craft was emitting minimal power, but his scanners detected life forms aboard. "Command, I'm reading life signs. I'm going to attempt to dock and render aid." As Sun-ho prepared his ship for docking, a strange sensation flooded his mind. Not sounds or words, but pure emotions. Fear, desperation, hope. The feelings were so intense that he gripped his control panel to steady himself. The docking sequence completed with a metallic clank. Sun-ho secured his helmet and checked his sidearm. Standard procedure when boarding unknown vessels, though something told him he wouldn't need it. The airlock cycled open to reveal dimly lit corridors. Emergency lighting bathed everything in a soft blue glow. Sun-ho moved cautiously forward, his suit sensors indicating breathable atmosphere. After a moment's hesitation, he removed his helmet. The air carried a faint scent of ozone and something sweet like honey. He followed the corridor until it opened into what appeared to be a control center. There, huddled together, were 5 beings. Sun-ho froze. They looked almost human, tall and slender with proportions just slightly off, making them seem elegant rather than alien. But their skin changed colors subtly, shifting with iridescent patterns like oil on water. Their eyes were large and entirely black. One figure stood protectively in front of the others. She, Sun-ho somehow knew this was a female, was taller than the rest, with complex patterns flowing across her skin. Behind her were 3 younger females and 1 injured male lying on the floor. The leader stepped forward, and again Sun-ho felt emotions wash over him. Caution, assessment, desperate hope. "I mean no harm," he said slowly, raising his empty hands. "I'm here to help." The leader touched her throat and made musical sounds. Then, to his shock, she spoke in halting English. "I am Kim Ji, matriarch of the Lyrian royal house. These are my daughters. We seek sanctuary." Sun-ho stared in amazement. "You speak our language." "We learn quickly. Took words from your transmission. Still learning." She gestured to the injured male. "He will not survive. Our protector." Sun-ho approached slowly and knelt beside the dying alien. The being's skin had faded to a dull gray, the iridescent patterns barely visible. "What happened to you? What damaged your ship?" GA's skin darkened. "The Void Scourge. They destroy all worlds they touch. Our homeworld is gone. Many ships escaped. Most were hunted down. We are all that remains of the royal line." The 3 daughters moved forward. GA introduced them. Yoon Hae-dun, my eldest. A tall figure with fierce eyes stepped forward. Her skin patterns moved like rippling water. Park Mi-rae, my second. This daughter had a calculating gaze that seemed to take in every detail of Sun-ho and his equipment. Choi Da-sam, my youngest. The 3rd daughter's patterns were gentler, flowing like soft waves. She knelt beside the dying protector, her hands glowing faintly as she tried to ease his pain. Sun-ho's training included first contact protocols, but nothing prepared him for refugees fleeing genocide. I need to report this to my superiors, but I promise we'll help you. As he contacted Earth Command, the dying protector suddenly grabbed Sun Ho's wrist. Images flooded his mind. Massive ships like living mountains devouring entire planets, civilizations falling one after another. And finally, a star map showing a path directly toward Earth's solar system. The protector released him and went still, his skin fading to white. Desam made a soft, keening sound as the patterns on his skin disappeared completely. He showed you, Jai said. The scourge comes here next. Earth Command ordered Sun Ho to bring the refugees back immediately. The journey was tense, with Sun Ho splitting his attention between flying and observing his passengers. The three daughters examined his ship with obvious curiosity, especially He-yun, who seemed fascinated by Earth technology. As they approached Earth, Marries pointed to the blue planet. Beautiful. Like our world once was. It still is beautiful, Sun Ho said firmly. And it will stay that way. Whatever these scourge are, we'll stop them. Jai touched his shoulder lightly. Your confidence is admirable, Captain Lee Sun Ho. But you do not understand what comes. The scourge has consumed 1,000 worlds more advanced than yours. Sun Ho met her gaze steadily. Then you'll have to help us understand. And together, we'll find a way. As they descended toward Earth, Sun Ho didn't realize he had just taken the first step toward becoming the most important human in history, and the future husband of 3 alien princesses. 2 weeks after the rescue, Sun Ho sat in a reinforced conference room deep within Earth Defense Headquarters. The Lyrian refugees had been granted temporary asylum, but remained under constant surveillance. The room buzzed with tension as military and scientific leaders argued about the alien threat. These claims are unverified, General Kang said, slamming his hand on the table. We have only their word that this void scourge even exists. Sun Ho stood up. I've seen the evidence, sir. The images the dying protector shared with me were real. Telepathic images, a scientist scoffed. Hardly reliable intelligence. The door opened, and the 4 Lyrians entered, escorted by armed guards. Matriarch Ga's skin rippled with calm blue patterns, but her daughter's skin showed agitation in sharp orange flashes. Admiral Park, the highest-ranking officer present, gestured for them to sit. We need concrete proof of this threat. Can you provide it? He-yun, the eldest daughter, stepped forward and placed a crystal device on the table. This contains data from our observational networks before they were destroyed. A technician connected the device to Earth systems. The room darkened as a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed hundreds of star systems mapped in glowing detail. The red zones are worlds already consumed by the scourge, He-yun explained. The map revealed a terrifying pattern. Nearly a third of the mapped galaxy was highlighted in red, with the destruction moving in a clear pattern toward Earth's sector. Marries pointed to a specific area. This was our homeworld, Lyria. Watch. The hologram zoomed in to show a beautiful blue-green planet. Then dark objects appeared, massive ships that looked like jagged mountains of living metal. They surrounded the planet, and within hours, the surface changed from vibrant colors to gray, then black, and finally, the planet simply shattered. Silence fell over the room. That happened 8 months ago, Jai said quietly. 17 billion lives ended in one day. Admiral Park's face had paled. How do they do this? The scourge are not like us, Desam explained, her voice soft but clear. They are a collective organism that converts all matter into more of themselves. They do not communicate or negotiate. They only consume. Sun Ho noticed Desam's hands trembling slightly. Without thinking, he moved to stand beside her. She gave him a grateful look, her skin momentarily shifting to a warm golden color. He-yun continued the briefing. Our scientists detected signals matching Scourge Scout probes entering your solar system 2 Earth months ago. The room erupted in panic. General Kang shouted for immediate military mobilization, while others demanded evacuation plans. Silence. Admiral Park ordered. When quiet returned, he turned to GI. How long do we have? 3 months, perhaps 4 before their main fleet arrives. And how do we stop them? Your civilization was clearly more advanced than ours, yet you fell. Marries stepped forward, her tactical mind already working. We were unprepared. We can help you avoid our mistakes. Over the next hours, the Lyrians shared their knowledge of Scourge weaknesses. The creatures were vulnerable to specific energy frequencies, and their hive mind could be disrupted temporarily with the right technology. Sun Ho found himself working closely with the 3 sisters in the days that followed. Each showed remarkable talents. Hei-un could understand and improve Earth's weapons systems with astonishing speed. Marries developed battle strategies that Earth's computers hadn't considered. Desam revealed healing abilities that could accelerate recovery from wounds and even repair damaged tissue. One evening, Sun Ho found Hei-un alone in the lab, modifying Earth defense satellites. You should rest, he said, bringing her a cup of coffee, a drink the Lyrians had grown fond of. She looked up, surprised. There's no time for rest. There's always time for rest. Tired minds make mistakes. Hei-un smiled slightly, her skin shifting to a softer pattern. You remind me of my father. He always said similar things. Tell me about him, Sun Ho said, sitting beside her. He was a scientist, brilliant and kind. He died protecting us during the first Scourge attack. She paused. You would have liked him, and he would have respected you. Their conversation was interrupted when alarms blared throughout the facility. They raced to the command center where Marries was already studying sensor readings. A Scourge probe has breached the outer system defenses, she reported. It's analyzing our capabilities. Desam entered with Matriarch GI. They're here earlier than we expected. Admiral Park turned to Sun Ho. Captain Lee, you have the most experience with Lyrian technology. Take a squad and intercept that probe before it can report back. The mission was hastily prepared. Sun Ho led 3 Earth fighters modified with Lyrian tech toward the probe's location near Mars. The probe resembled a metallic spider with dozens of scanning appendages. Remember, aim for the central node. Marries' voice advised through the comm system. The battle was brief but intense. The probe fired energy beams that melted one Earth fighter instantly. Sun Ho's modified shields barely held as he maneuvered close enough to fire the Lyrian enhanced weapons. The probe exploded in a shower of dark particles. When Sun Ho returned to Earth, the Lyrian sisters were waiting. Desam immediately checked him for injuries, her hands glowing softly as she healed the burns on his arm. You fought well, Hei-un said, examining the battle data. Marries nodded in agreement. But this was just a scout. The real battle comes soon. Matriarch GA observed their interactions with thoughtful eyes. Later that night, she summoned Sun Ho to her quarters. My daughters have grown to trust you, she said, each in her own way. I'm honored by their trust, Sun Ho replied. GA's skin shifted to a deep purple, a color he hadn't seen before. In our culture, Captain Lee, such bonds form the foundation of our greatest strength. I believe you may be key to saving not just your world, but what remains of ours as well. As Sun Ho left, he didn't notice the 3 sisters watching from the shadows, their skin glowing with matching patterns of hope and something deeper, something that would soon change the fate of 2 worlds. 1 month after the probe encounter, Earth's situation had grown desperate. 3 more Scourge scouts had been destroyed, but each one had been larger and more difficult to defeat than the last. Military leaders gathered in the war room, faces grim as they reviewed the latest intelligence. The main Scourge fleet will arrive in 28 days, Admiral Park announced, pointing to the holographic display. Our enhanced defenses might slow them down, but not stop them. General Kang slammed his fist on the table. Then we need a new approach. These defensive strategies aren't enough. Sun Ho had been quiet during the meeting, his mind working through possibilities. He had spent every waking hour with the Lyrians, learning their technology and culture. Something He-Yun had mentioned about scourge biology kept returning to his thoughts. "What if we attack them from within?" he finally said. All eyes turned to him. "Explain, Captain," Admiral Park ordered. "The scourge operate as a hive mind. He-Yun told me their central ships contain neural clusters that coordinate their entire fleet. If we could disrupt those clusters, the rest might fall into disarray." He-Yun nodded eagerly. "Yes, our scientists attempted something similar, but we couldn't deliver the disruptor to their central node." Marries, who had been studying Earth's stealth technology, added, "A small ship with combined Lyrian and Earth cloaking might penetrate their defenses." "And then what?" General Kang asked skeptically. "We drop a bomb." "Not a bomb," Disum said quietly. Everyone turned to the youngest sister, who rarely spoke in military meetings. "A biological agent. I've been studying the scourge tissue samples we recovered from the probes. Their neural pathways are vulnerable to specific protein sequences." Matriarch Jie studied Sunho carefully. Such an agent would need to be inserted directly into their central neural cluster. The pilot would likely not survive. A heavy silence fell over the room. "I'll do it," Sunho said without hesitation. "Absolutely not," General Kang objected. "Captain Lee, you're too valuable as our liaison with the Lyrians." "That's exactly why it has to be me," Sunho argued. "I understand both our technologies. No one else has spent as much time working with Lyrian systems." The debate raged for hours, but eventually, the desperate reality of their situation forced agreement. Project Spearhead was approved, with Sunho as the pilot of a hybrid Earth-Lyrian vessel that would penetrate the Scourge mothership. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparations. Sunho trained constantly, learning to operate the hybrid ship with He-Yun as his teacher. Marries developed infiltration strategies, using holographic simulations to prepare him for the Scourge vessel's interior. Disum worked day and night perfecting the biological disruptor. The night before the mission, Sunho couldn't sleep. He walked through the quiet base until he found himself at the small garden area where the Lyrians often gathered. To his surprise, all 3 sisters were there, sitting beneath the stars. "You should be resting," Disum said, though her skin pattern showed she understood his restlessness. "So should all of you," he replied with a small smile. He-Yun motioned for him to join them. "We wanted to give you something before tomorrow." Marries nodded. "In our culture, warriors are given tokens before dangerous missions." Disum held out a small vial of luminescent blue liquid. "This contains compounds that will help shield your mind from scourge influence. Drink it before you enter their ship." Sunho accepted it gratefully. "Thank you. I'll use it well." He-Yun presented him with a crystalline device that fit in his palm. "This will help mask your thoughts from their detection. Without it, they would sense your presence immediately." Marries gave him a small metallic object that resembled a bracelet. "This weapon responds to neural patterns. Think of where you want it to strike, and it will follow your intention." Sunho was touched by their gifts. "I don't know how to thank you." "Return to us," He-Yun said simply, her skin glowing with intensity. "Mother wishes to see you," Marries added. "She's waiting in the ceremonial chamber." Sunho found Matriarch Jie in a room he hadn't entered before. The walls were covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. Jie stood in the center, her skin patterns more complex than he had ever seen them. "Captain Lee," she greeted him formally. "Before your mission, I would like to perform a traditional Lyrian ritual for those who risk everything to protect others." "I would be honored," Sunho replied, bowing slightly. Jie gestured for him to kneel before her. She placed her hands on his temples, and immediately he felt a warm sensation spread through his mind. Images flowed between them, memories of Lyria before its destruction, the beauty of their civilization, and strangely, flashes of He-Yun, Marries, and Disum as children. "This connects you to our family lineage," Jie explained, her voice taking on a ceremonial tone. "No matter what happens tomorrow, you will carry a part of us with you." What Sun Ho didn't understand was that this ritual was far more significant than a blessing. In Lyrian culture, it was the first stage of binding a worthy individual to the royal family. The next morning, Sun Ho prepared his ship for launch. The three sisters stood nearby, their skin patterns subdued but determined. Each touched his hand briefly before he boarded. "The fate of two worlds rests with you," Admiral Park said formally. "Godspeed, Captain Lee." As the hybrid ship lifted off, Sun Ho touched the three gifts from the sisters. Whatever happened in the coming hours, he would not let Earth or the surviving Lyrians fall. The desperate plan was underway, but what Sun Ho didn't realize was that his role in Lyrian destiny was just beginning. The Scourge mothership loomed ahead, a massive structure of jagged, living metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. From Sun Ho's cockpit, it looked like a mountain floating in space, dark protrusions extending outward like twisted branches. Smaller ships swarmed around it like insects protecting their queen. Sun Ho activated the hybrid cloaking system He Yun had designed. The displays in his cockpit showed the energy field enveloping his small craft, bending light, and other detection signals around it. If it worked as intended, he would be invisible to the Scourge's sensors. "Control, this is Captain Lee," he whispered, though there was no need for quiet in space. "Approaching target. Cloaking active." "We read you, Captain." Admiral Park's voice came through, slightly distorted by interference from the Scourge ships. "Earth's fate is in your hands." Sun Ho took a deep breath and removed the vial Desam had given him. The liquid glowed with inner light, swirling with blues and purples. He uncapped it and drank the contents in one swallow. Immediately, a cool clarity spread through his mind, sharpening his senses and calming his racing heart. He guided his ship carefully between the patrol vessels, using the paths Marries had calculated would be least monitored. The cloaking held, and none of the Scourge ships altered course to intercept him. As he approached the mothership, massive entry ports opened and closed rhythmically, allowing smaller vessels to enter and exit. Sun Ho timed his approach perfectly, slipping through one of these openings just before it closed. Inside, he found himself in a vast hangar unlike anything human or Lyrian. The walls pulsed with dark energy, and what looked like veins carried glowing fluids throughout the structure. Everything appeared alive, as if the ship itself was a massive organism. He landed in a shadowed area and checked his equipment one last time. The neural disruptor Desam had created was secured in a special container designed to keep it stable until deployment. He attached Marries' bracelet weapon to his wrist and activated He Yun's crystalline thought shield. The moment Sun Ho stepped out of his ship, he felt the oppressive presence of the Scourge mind trying to probe his thoughts. Desam's serum and He Yun's shield held, keeping his presence hidden. Following the mental map Marries had prepared, he made his way deeper into the living ship. The corridors pulsed around him, occasionally shifting and reconfiguring themselves. Twice he had to hide as Scourge drones passed, humanoid figures made of the same dark, living metal as the ship, but with no faces, only smooth surfaces where features should be. After what felt like hours of careful movement, Sun Ho reached what Marries had identified as the approach to the neural cluster, the hive mind's central processing node. Here, the ship's organic nature was even more apparent. The walls throbbed with energy, and the air itself seemed charged with malevolent intelligence. Just as he prepared to move forward, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. The corridor ahead filled with drones moving toward him. "They've detected me," Sun Ho whispered into his communicator, but only static answered. He was too deep inside the ship for his signals to reach Earth. The first drone attacked without warning, its arm morphing into a blade that nearly took Sun Ho's head off. He ducked and focused his thoughts on Marries' weapon. The bracelet responded instantly, extending into a glowing energy blade that cut through the drone with surprising ease. More drones converged on his position, Sun Ho fought with everything he had, the weapon responding to his thoughts, striking exactly where he intended. But there were too many. For every drone he destroyed, two more appeared. A blow caught him across the back, tearing through his suit and into flesh. Sun Ho gasped in pain, but kept moving forward. The neural cluster was visible now, a pulsing mass of dark energy suspended in a chamber ahead. With a desperate surge, Sun Ho broke through the line of drones and sprinted for the chamber. A drone grabbed his leg, but the bracelet weapon severed its arm. Another slashed his side, opening a deep wound that immediately began to bleed. Sun Ho reached the chamber and stumbled inside. The neural cluster hung before him like a dark star, tendrils of energy connecting it to the ship's systems. He removed the disruptor container from his pack with shaking hands. More drones poured into the chamber. One struck him from behind, driving him to his knees. Blood pooled beneath him as he struggled to remain conscious. "For Earth," he whispered. "For Lyria." With his last strength, Sun Ho activated the disruptor and hurled it into the center of the neural cluster. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The dark energy mass convulsed, sending pulses of destructive force throughout the ship. The drones fell, suddenly lifeless without the controlling intelligence. But as the neural cluster collapsed, it released a massive surge of energy. Sun Ho couldn't escape it. The wave hit him with the force of an explosion, lifting him off his feet and slamming him against the chamber wall. As consciousness faded, Sun Ho felt something strange happening to his body. The energy wasn't just damaging him, it was changing him. He could feel it merging with Daesum's serum in his bloodstream, creating something new. His last thought before darkness took him was of the three Lyrian sisters and their gentle touch on his hand before he left. On Earth, alarm spread as Sun Ho's signal disappeared. But moments later, the Scourge fleet fell into disarray. Ships collided or drifted powerless. The massive attack they had prepared never materialized. "He did it," Admiral Park whispered, watching the displays showing the Scourge fleet's collapse. In the Lyrian quarters, the three sisters stood motionless, their skin patterns synchronized in a complex display never seen before by humans. Matriarch Ga watched them with knowing eyes. "He lives," Daesum suddenly announced, her skin flaring with brilliant light. "I can feel him." Without waiting for permission, Hei-Yun and Marries rushed to prepare a rescue mission. Somewhere in the dying Scourge mothership, Earth's hero waited, changed, but alive. Sun Ho opened his eyes to bright lights and the steady beep of medical equipment. He tried to move but found his body strangely heavy. After several attempts, he managed to turn his head to see a window showing Earth's blue sky outside. He was home. "The hero awakens," a familiar voice said. Matriarch Ga sat beside his bed, her skin patterns flowing in calm waves. When Sun Ho tried to speak, his throat felt raw, and only a rasp emerged. "Drink," Ga instructed, holding a cup of water to his lips. After several sips, Sun Ho found his voice. "The Scourge. Defeated. Their collective mind collapsed when you destroyed the neural cluster. The remaining ships are inactive or destroyed." Relief flooded through him. Only then did Sun Ho notice something strange. His arm lying on the white sheet had faint iridescent patterns shifting beneath the skin, similar to Lyrian markings. "What happened to me?" he asked, trying to keep the panic from his voice. Ga touched his hand gently. "When the neural cluster collapsed, it released energy unlike anything we've seen before. This energy, combined with Daesum's serum in your system, has altered you. You are still human, but more." Sun Ho stared at the patterns moving beneath his skin. "More how?" "You now share certain Lyrian traits. The doctors found changes in your cellular structure and brain patterns, and you have developed a telepathic connection with my daughters." As if summoned by their mention, the door opened and the three sisters entered. Their skin patterns brightened visibly when they saw Sun Ho awake. Daesum immediately moved to check the medical monitors, while Hei-Yun and Marries stayed at the foot of the bed, their expressions a mixture of relief and something Sunho couldn't quite identify. "How do you feel?" Daesum asked, her hands hovering over his injuries. A soft glow emanated from her fingertips. Daesum moved closer. "And we needed you to return. The bond helped guide you back to us." Sunho was silent for a long moment. The Earth and Lyrian officials would have much to say about this unexpected development. Cultural misunderstandings were inevitable. But as he felt the warm presence of the three sisters in his mind, he realized something important. Each connection felt different but complementary. With Hae-yun, he shared determination and vision for the future. With Marries, strategic thinking and practical problem-solving. With Daesum, compassion and healing. "On Earth, people usually only marry one person," he finally said. "Many of our customs will seem strange to you," Jae acknowledged, "as yours do to us. But together, we can build something new, a bridge between our peoples." Admiral Park had warned Sunho the day before that Earth's leaders were already discussing a formal alliance with the remaining Lyrians. This personal connection would certainly complicate matters, or perhaps make them stronger. "I saved your people," Sunho said with a small smile. "And now it seems your people have saved me in return." The three sisters moved closer, their skin patterns synchronizing in a beautiful display of blues and golds. Outside, preparations were already underway for the ceremony that would celebrate both the new alliance between Earth and Lyria, and the unexpected honor bestowed upon Earth's hero. Sunho didn't know what the future held, but as he felt the presence of the three remarkable beings now connected to him, he knew it would never be boring.